Welcome back to Sky Sports News, where we've got some big breaking news tonight regarding the ownership of Chelsea. You can see our chief reporter, Kaveh Solhekol, has joined us now. Kaveh, what can you tell us?
Well, if you remember, just over 2 years ago, Chelsea were taken over by a consortium led by a group of US businessmen. And the two sort of public faces of the takeover were Todd Boehly and also Behdad Eghbali. Now, Behdad Eghbali is from a company called Clearlake Capital, and they actually own 62% of the shares. Now, tonight, we can tell you that Clearlake Capital are open to buying out Todd Boehly, but they will not be selling any of their own shares in Chelsea. Now, Clearlake are totally committed to Chelsea. They remain totally committed, and they won't sell any of their 62% shareholding. Now, this has all come about this evening because a report has appeared on Bloomberg, a very well-respected financial news service. And according to this report, the different investors in Chelsea are looking at buying each other out. Now, I can say that Todd Boehly is considering selling his shares in Chelsea, but Clearlake Capital are not interested at all in selling their shares under any circumstances. And according to Bloomberg, the relationship between the co-owners, Eghbali and Todd Boehly, has deteriorated over the past few months, which has led to this situation where Boehly is considering selling his shares. Now, my information is that the relationship between Todd Boehly and Behdad Eghbali can be described as professional. I think when you put a consortium together to buy a club as big as Chelsea or to buy any business, that consortium is always going to be a marriage of convenience. And obviously this evening, it looks and it sounds like that marriage is on the rocks.
Well, if a deal as big as this can get done, how do you expect it to play out?
Well, look, the only way I can see it happening, if any deal is done at all, is if Clearlake Capital buy out some of the other investors. And you have to remember, I know it's a sort of complicated picture, but Clearlake Capital owns 62% of the shares. So they are the majority owners of Chelsea. They have no interest in selling Chelsea whatsoever. So going forward, the majority owners of Chelsea will remain Clearlake Capital, and it will remain that Behdad Eghbali is really the most powerful person at the club at the moment. He is the one who is driving the strategy at the club. And it looks like from the outside that Todd Boehly has been sidelined. Now, the reason I say the relationships between them are professional, I understand, I'm aware of reports that the two men may have fallen out, that their relationship has deteriorated. But you also have to remember that, for instance, before the first game of the season, Chelsea, Manchester City at Stamford Bridge, Todd Boehly was actually in Clearlake Capital's box with Behdad Eghbali. So it's important to remember that as well. But obviously, it has become apparent to anybody who follows Chelsea, anybody who reports on Chelsea, that this kind of uneasy relationship between Todd Boehly and Behdad Eghbali was something that was going to have to be sorted out. And if it is sorted out by Clearlake Capital buying out the other investors, then it is something that Clearlake Capital are willing to do. They're willing to have that discussion.
OK. Now, we've seen plenty of transfer window drama from Chelsea. Chief executive leaving this week. What do you think the fans will be thinking? Is this more disruption for the club at the moment?
Well, I think a lot of Chelsea fans think, why are we in the news the whole time? Every day something is happening at Chelsea. Every day people are talking about Chelsea. We just want to get back to being just a football club. We want to be on the back pages for what we're doing on the pitch. We don't want to be in the business pages. We don't want to be on the gossip pages. We don't want to be on the front pages. We want to be a football club again. And I think what Clearlake would say is what we're trying to do is put the right structure in place at the club. And I think the reason why they feel they're committed to the club going forward is because they believe that they have put that structure in place. But of course, I totally understand what Chelsea fans are saying. I understand their frustrations because Chelsea seem to be in the news a lot these days, and it's not just for football reasons. As you mentioned, it's to do with their transfer strategy, it's to do with recruitment, it's to do with what's happening with their head coach, what's happening with players who are not training with the first team. There always seems to be something going on. I think what Clearlake would say is we bought a club that needed to be modernised, and that is exactly what we're trying to do. Yes, there will be ups and downs along the way, but obviously this is another distraction. But I think the important thing is that Clearlake appear to be saying we can sort this out by sitting down and talking to any investors who want to sell their shares. I think the picture would be even more uncertain if we had a situation where the majority shareholder was looking at selling their shares. But I have to reiterate, that is not what is happening at all, because the majority shareholder is still fully committed to Chelsea, and they see this as a long-term investment. You know, they're not in it for the short haul. They don't think there's going to be a quick fix. They knew when they bought the club that a lot of things needed to be modernised and they needed to change a lot of things. And I think they themselves would put their hands up and say, yes, we have made mistakes along the way. Yes, of course, we regret some of the decisions we've made. We regret some of the things we've done. But we're learning from those mistakes very, very quickly. And we feel now we have the right structure in place, we have the right head coach in place, and we have the right squad in place to go forward. But obviously, this whole ownership situation needs to be sorted out pretty quickly.
So much going on at the club. I'd be interested to know what Chelsea have had to say themselves about all of this. Have they commented?
Well, Chelsea have not commented themselves. Obviously, we've contacted Chelsea for comment. I don't think it's something that they would comment on. It was not something that they would want to talk about in public. Obviously, this is an issue that needs to be sorted out between the investors. And the investors, 62% Clearlake Capital. Then Todd Burley leads another group of investors who include Mark Walter and the Swiss businessman Hans-Jörg Wyss. And between them, they own, I think, about 38% of the shares. But I don't know what you're thinking tonight. If you're a Chelsea supporter, you're thinking more uncertainty, more hours spent on social media trying to work out what's going on, more hours spent reading newspaper websites, watching Sky Sports News, trying to work out what's going on. We want to return to being a football club. Perhaps the solution to all this is for Clearlake Capital to sit down and buy the 38% of the shares in the club that they don't own. And then once and for all, we would know that Clearlake own 100% of Chelsea, and we would know who is in total charge going forward.
Okay.
Wow, Kaveh Solhekol, for the moment, thank you very much. I'm sure this is a story that we will continue to be updated on throughout the coming days and weeks. Thank you.